What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tavian's World of Reptiles. I hope you all are doing well and staying healthy. I know that I said I was going to be a few days really before I did another video, and I guess it has been a few days, but so, man, I have been at war, and it's so much I just had to take time. I had to take time to make this video. Um, so today I have been fighting a war all day, and I'm only just now starting to see that I might actually be winning this war. So I woke up this morning early, and I'm trying to speak up, and I fed my snakes, and I fed everybody. And I just kind of looked back into Shere Khan's enclosure because I was like, well, he should have shed at this point, and I hadn't seen it, but I was like, maybe it's just like tucked in somewhere. And sure enough, it was behind his water bowl, and it was covered in ants. And for like the last week, I've just probably been seeing a few ants here and there, like really kind of starting to show up. And I was just like, all right, well, I'll get ready to start, doing put out some taro or whatever. But I came in this morning and it was covered in ants, and I like lifted up his water bowl, and underneath it, just a swarm of ants came out from underneath it, and like God, there was just ants lining the window line of like all of the enclosures. They were all inside of Shere Khan's enclosure, and they were all going underneath the dividing wall and into Zeus's enclosure. And it took me a minute to really find where the freaking line was because I just couldn't find it. I couldn't figure out what was happening, where they were coming from. When I found it, there was like a stick that's leaned up against that enclosure as well as against Artemis's enclosure, and there actually was a line of ants going all the way around the inside of Artemis's enclosure from throughout the outside and over into the rest of these enclosures over here, and then out and around to the back of my bed and up my bookshelf. And after that, I just couldn't see where they were going. They just kind of like seemed like they were dispersing at the same time, but there was that very defined like trail. And so I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know where the end of this trail is going. But I didn't see the other end of it after the bookshelf over here by Zeus's enclosure. I didn't see where it was ending. So I'm making a big assumption that they were attempting to make a new colony in the enclosure workings, just in all throughout the cracks of it all. And I've had that happen to me before, not inside the cracks, but underneath that enclosure that is back there, that is Luna's. One time actually had a colony of ants in my old house, which I swear had ants living in the walls. Like there was a huge colony in the walls. I swear it. But they tried to create a new colony underneath the enclosure, and I was breeding isopods at the time, and I hadn't even quite noticed the ants until I seen a line coming from my enclosure that I was actually breeding the isopods in, and I followed the line. They were all carrying the fucking. I'm sorry, they were carrying the eggs of my isopods, and I was like, what is going on? I followed it and I lifted up the enclosure, and there was just a huge swarm of ants. They had their babies there. There was all the eggs. They were literally starting a new colony underneath my enclosure. So I'm assuming that they were also doing something similar here. However, I headed that off real quick. I had to just clean everything out, just wipe out and kill as many ants as I could. Though I knew that it didn't really matter because there was already an established trail there. So I just cleaned that all out as best I could, but then I put like little taro like poison dot drop things along the two outside edges of Artemis's enclosure, as well as along the wall where they're going behind my bed, and then on each of the shelves of my bookshelf that I noticed they were going on. My main goal was just to stop them from being inside of my enclosures. I was not about that. I was not about the fact that they were swarming inside with my snakes. I was not about it at all. I needed to get that concentrated. So I put these dots all over the place, and sure enough, they all stopped going inside the enclosures, and actually are going to these dots of poison that I have all over the place. And they swarmed a lot for a long time. The numbers have dwindled drastically. I mean, there was just like piles of black spots all over the place because they were just like swarming towards this poison. But the numbers have gone down dramatically. Like I'm seeing maybe 20 or 30 ants on each of the spots at any given time now. I don't see a hardcore trail of ants going up my bookshelf or even going along the inside of Artemis's enclosure. There are a few ants that are still going um, the path that was set, the pheromone path, things that ants do. They're still going and they're still following, those scents that have been set down, letting them know that there's food here towards the poison. So I'm just gonna have to bear through seeing them for a little bit. But for the, I got that huge swarm cleaned up that I found this morning, and I got them from actually swarming my snake enclosures, and so now the spots that I have set out are slowly like clearing up. There's a lot less ants. I'm expecting within a couple of days I will see little to no ants at all, and then everything will be good, and I will just have to keep an eye out on it and really just watch anytime I start seeing an excess amount of ants and just go ahead and drop some more poison right away. However, this does mean bad news for my snakes, which means that they're not going to be able to free roam for a little bit, at least 3 or 4 days until I really start seeing and knowing that these ants are just about dead and gone, and then I can like pick up and clean up all the poison that I have around. But for now, they're not going to get, when they're out, they're going to be handled the entire time because I don't want them stumbling across any of this poison and getting themselves sick. Um, and so, yeah, but that's okay because, like I said, they just ate this morning when I discovered all of that, so they're gonna get naturally a normal 48 hours of just being in their enclosures anyway. None of them really care to do much during that time, except for Aunt Ivy, who's always down to come out and do it whenever I allow her to. But for the next 48 hours, for sure, they're gonna be in their enclosures. And then, we'll go after that. We'll see how things are looking with the ants after that period, and if I need to pick up the poison or not, and if I need to leave it out because there's still some around, there's still a large number, or if there's just like if they're just about gone, and then I can I can pick it up. But yeah, my biggest concern really is just the fact that I also am trying to breed, and I have a small but successful uh, little breeding of mealworms, for my tarantulas. And I really just did not want them to get to that, so I've moved those into my bathroom to keep them safe because I'm not seeing any ants in there. My other concern is that I have snakes like my Nakia wakanda, my sunbeam snake, who don't eat their rodent right away. Like, and I have to leave it for extended periods of time and allow them to take their time to get to it. And like, if left, these ants will straight swarm that rat or that mouse. And I have to watch it, and I just have to be on it because I don't want that to happen. And if she doesn't eat her mouse here in a little bit longer, I'm probably gonna move her into the bathroom as well until I know that if she's going to actually eat it or not. In the morning, if it's not gone, I'm just going to take it out and it's going to be gone. But yeah, I don't want to leave that around in here if there's going to be ants that are going to swarm it, and thus swarming her home. And moist dirt, all that. That's perfect space for ants to decide. Well, I'll just make a home here, and I would hate for them to try to create a colony inside of her enclosure. So I just don't want to give them anything, to go off of. That also means that I just also ordered some Eco Earth for everybody, just for us to get some substrate in their enclosures. But I'm gonna pause on putting that in there because until I know that all these ants are gone, because like I said, I don't want to give them any more reason to stay than they already have. So I'm gonna let them focus on the poison food that I have set out for them and let that be their main focus for a while. I'm not gonna give them anywhere else to be like, oh, this is nice. So they're gonna have to hold off on getting on substrate for a little bit longer and just be good. And so yeah, anyway, I just wanted to update you guys on what was happening with that because it sucks that I've been battling it all day. It was a crappy thing to have to wake up and do. It's been one hell of a day, and I ended up missing my bus to work. Therefore, I could not go to work because the bus runs like every 3 hours from here. So if I miss that bus, I miss work. But yeah, so anyway, this is TWR. I'm out of here. Still not feeling the hottest, but managing to make it work. And you guys take care of yourselves. Love yourselves. Love your reptiles. Y'all keep spreading those herbs.